Uh, Good evening. I see that we have 36 attendees. Would like to thank all of you guys for joining us this evening. If you're watching this as a recording later on, thank you for watching it as well. My name is Ed Thompson. I'm the golf administrator at the Florida High School Athletics Association. Uh, this webinar, the purpose of this webinar is to hopefully provide some guidance, some assistance, answer a few questions on the app, the FHSAA Golf App, and the Wanamaker, and what we're doing. This is year 2 of the process. This hopefully this is able to provide you guys a little bit of clarity on the whole process. Clearly, there's a need, so been able to get Mr. Doyle Heisler from Wanamaker and Rob Robison, our FACA, your FACA chairman for golf, on here to participate. But let me go ahead and Doyle, if you don't mind, giving yourself a brief introduction, who you are, what you represent, a little brief history, and then we'll move on to Rob as well.
Okay, well, good. Thank you, Ed. I'm living in Colorado Springs. We run the whole operation right here in Colorado Springs. We started this back. My background is I grew up in North Dakota and I ended up in Colorado. And along the way, I got a degree in electrical engineering and somehow got into app development in 2011. And this idea turned into be a lot more than what I ever anticipated. And now it's being used in 10 different states. So it's a lot of fun to be able to work with state associations and their member schools, and most importantly, the coaches, to be able to offer this product, this platform to, it's close to, right now it's close to 40 to 50,000 people, including the spectators and everyone else.
That's outstanding. Rob.
Thanks, Ed. Hey, everybody. My name is Rob Robison. For those of you that don't know me, I am the head golf coach at Winter Park High School. This is year 9 for me. And I took over, I guess this is year 2 as the FACA golf chairman. And ultimately, the FACA is an organization that is meant to support you guys. There are a lot of benefits of the organization, but ultimately a couple major things, and the biggest being a clinic that we put on every year. Typically that clinic has been in the summer, and never a fan of that because the summer is a tough time for especially teachers, because they want to spend time with their families in the summer. That's their off time. So one positive thing has happened because of COVID, and that is our meeting right now has been moved to December 10th through the 12th, which I love, and that is fantastic because to me, that's a time where you can hopefully talk with your principals and athletic directors and have some time where you can go to Daytona and get some TDY from school, and then come get some good training. Last year, we had some great speakers. It was actually the most well-attended clinic we've had in a long time, and we hope to build on that. It's still unique, to be honest with you, with what's going on with COVID, and we hope things open up where we can have an actual seminar and have speakers. And I think we will, but again, it's all tentative, but it'll be in December. Just to give you, we have PGA pros that come. We had a few college golf coaches and did a cool panel there. We had physical fitness instructors. And then obviously we've had some high school coaches that speak at that. So we go through a lot of different things, and I'll even send more information out on request and what people would like to see and what they feel like they can get more training on. But ultimately, FACA is just to support and help all you guys.
That's outstanding. Rob, it's great to work with you. in case anybody had any questions about the relationship that FACA has with FHSAA staff, each administrator works hand in hand with the respective FACA rep in gaining feedback on anything and everything with respect to the sport that they're over. I work with Rob quite a bit. He's helped me out in how I present things to you guys as coaches, in approaches that we decided to take to the season, among many things. I can also give props to Shelton Cruz. He's the executive director for FACA. I know that I will be attending the basketball FACA event next Friday in Winter Haven, so it's in person. I would strongly or seriously expect that we'll be there in person in December for golf as well. So that's good stuff. Just a general, some general guidance on this whole webinar, folks. We're going to go through each of these things. We have an agenda that we're going to work off of that includes season information and then the heart of it, a Wanamaker with Doyle. If you have questions, go ahead and put those questions in the Q&A box as we go along, and at the very end, we'll do our best to answer that. I will try and take a look at the chat window as well. But the direct questions for any of us, for me or for Doyle or even for Rob, go ahead and put those in that box, and we'll get that at the end, and we'll do our best to provide the best answers that we can. So I'll go ahead and start my end, and I'm going to try and do this briefly because you all probably don't care a whole lot what I have to say and more want to know about what Mr. Heisler has to present, because there are some things that folks, well, I mean, it's the big thing. It's the elephant in the room, and we want to get it right. So I'm going to provide you guys with a little bit of information first on our season. I don't know how many folks have had the opportunity to view our, let's see if it's showing. There it is. Let me move the screen here. Hopefully everybody can see that. I am sharing the rules presentation. This is the first year that I have actually put out a rules presentation from golf. Generally, we defer to the one page in our manual that's there. But we've added a few wrinkles on the state level that are meant to open up the game and really provide you guys with a resource on FHSAA rules that are more of the Cliff Notes variety. My contact information is on there. Feel free to use it. Send me an email. Give me a call. I'm happy to chat golf anytime. Definitely something that all of us at our office here in Gainesville value is the ability to chat one-on-one with coaches. We're always happy to talk about our sports, you know, whether it be positive or negative. Oftentimes it's negative. If you have a question, you know, we'll do everything we can to provide you with a clear and at least a clear and honest answer. It may not be an answer that you like very much, but we'll be able to provide you with an answer. We hope that the answer is often yes or positive, but it doesn't always work out that way. This is something that I think that you guys ought to pay close attention to. Like every other sport, golf has an advisory committee, and you have a representative on that committee. Rob Robison participates on that committee, representing the FACA, but the state's divided into 4 administrative sections. Section 1 being Panhandle all the way to Jacksonville. Section 2 would be Central Florida. Section 3 would be West Coast-ish, so you're looking at Tampa down. And Section 4 is East Coast and Southeast Florida. Take a look at those folks. We got a boys rep and a girls rep. They are there to represent you guys on our committee. If there's something going on that you think ought to be addressed or something that ought to change, you know, maybe we're doing something that's terrible that isn't really working out, that's the appropriate route to go through. Go through those folks so that the governance process can play out. As an example, this using iWanamaker and the adoption of that program went through this governance process. It was blessed by the committee, and their experience over the last couple of years doing it has been very positive. And it's among other things, it's a good way to get your voice heard. I'm going to skip this section here because I'm going to show you something here in a moment, because we have, as a reminder, we're shutting down FHSAA.org and moving everything to FHSAA.com. But I'll go ahead and show you the resources where you can access that stuff here in a moment. One other resource that I strongly encourage you guys to use is the Florida State Golf Association. I encourage you guys to call them if you have rules questions, rules of golf questions, weird situations. They are a great resource for me. They provide officials for the state finals, and we do our best to get state Florida FSGA officials out to all of our state events as well. Real important, get with Darren. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable. He's always happy to chat about different things. They've seen it all, and they'll be happy to work through things with you. The important dates are here again. I'm going to show you where you can locate all this stuff. Nothing has really changed as far as our state series goes. We're going full speed ahead as far as our dates and locations, and we're real excited to be able to do that, frankly. But here are some rules changes that you probably need to be aware of this year, and this was last year as well.
Ed, I'm not seeing any screen changes. Are you showing something other than the?
Rob, are you seeing the screen change?
No, but it's just the that main page with your contact info.
Yeah.
Oh, it says, well, son of a gun. Okay. How about now?
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. I've got two screens here, so bear with me. I moved it to the other one because I'm used to looking at my left. So, yeah. Anyway, mandatory results reporting, guys. Just so everyone is aware, results need to be reported using the FHSAA Golf App. Those are due within 24 hours of the completion of your contests. We're going to go through on how to do that, how to make all that happen. But hole-by-hole scoring, live scoring is strongly recommended, especially where we are at currently. In state series play this year, at every round in the district and the region and the state finals, we are doing hole-by-hole live scoring, meaning we're using the electronic scorecards. We're going to use the marker format on the FHSAA Golf App. It is easier than some folks would make it out to be, and Doyle's going to show us how to do that. But that will be required. We are going to encourage, though, that players have paper scorecards kept as a backup. I know that that's a comfort level thing, and we encourage you guys to go with that. There is no longer a district rotation with the bidding process. We have had, at least for regions, we have had issues in the past where folks have been concerned about the quality of our regions. We've shrunk it down to 4 regions across each class last year and now this year. And we feel like that we are able to be very selective in who is the host and the course that it's going to be played on. We no longer have to find 48 region sites. Thank goodness. Last year we encountered in our at-large selections, or not selections, but at-large qualification from the region to the state level, some ties, which was pretty incredible for some of those spots. This year, if we do have any ties, we're going to use the card countback method. And this is only for those at-large positions. So this is not at the tournament itself, at the region. Tournament, you're still breaking ties with sudden death. But we're using the card countback method if that situation arises again. If it does, we'll be ready to go. But here it is in writing for you guys to know what to expect. In the state series, if there is a team tie break, only the 4 scoring players will compete in that playoff. Okay? This applies to your district, your regional, and your state championship. All right. Your seeding, your seating for the district tournament is going to be based solely on your season IWR. That would be team and individuals. And you'll see a little bit more of that when Doyle shows us about creating events and seating and pairings. Maximum scores. We get this question a lot most years. You know, not everybody has the most talented teams, and they're happy to have kids out there, and we're happy to have everybody playing. We would actually like to see as many kids that are eligible to participate to play, but sometimes we're end up in a situation where they're taking a lot of strokes, and it affects pace of play. So the option now on an official basis is that players are allowed to take a maximum score of 10 on a hole, meaning they write down the 10, they pick up, and they move on. The only hang up here with this change is that if a player elects to take a maximum score on a particular hole, that would make them ineligible to advance in the state series. So hopefully that makes that a little bit clearer than what you've seen in the past. It doesn't have to be on the down low, it doesn't have to be shady or anything like that. I do understand that we're working with beginners in a lot of cases. Get another question in the state series about advice. So here's a brief clarification. A lot of folks will ask, well, is it tee to green? Is it only green to tee? Here's how it is. Advice may be provided to the players by the coach, the only one coach, that would be the coach that's designated, anywhere on the course except on the greens. We don't want coaches on the greens, just like we don't want parents or anyone else. We would hope that the hay's in the barn at that point when you're providing advice in the state series. But if you're going to do it, please stay off the greens. Okay. I'm going to skip some of this other stuff here, except this item here. As one of the provisions for this season, the association has waived the minimum contest requirement, meaning that we just want folks to play as many times as they can this season. We had the late start with the board decision to delay the start of the season. In normal years, you would need to play 6 contests, but we just want folks to play. You can't go over 16 because that's the cap, and we don't know that how many teams would be able to get that far, but do your best. That minimum contest requirement has been waived. Okay, we recommend that hole-by-hole scoring is done in all regular season play. Your at-large advancement, again, via the rankings, talked about that. There are some items here from FSGA and USGA on some of the changes that they made with the new rules that came out last year. Those are in there. And that is what I have here. Okay, now I want to review can everyone see that? It says COVID considerations. Is that there in front of you guys? No?
No, right now it says official ball.
All right. New share. Here we go. How about now?
No.
Now do you see it?
Now you can see it.
Okay. Bear with me. Not an exact expert on all technology. So these are our golf considerations. These are all related to COVID-19. So bear with us on this. You've probably already experienced these throughout the season in the brief amount of time that you guys have been playing. But the main thing here is we're looking to mitigate risk, minimize risk, meaning we're minimizing contact. So this is what we've got out here for golf, okay? We would encourage that players and coaches all use hand sanitizer and carry it in your bags, have it available, and use it as much as you can. And most of this stuff is common sense, but there are some other things that we're looking to do, and it involves our use of the Wanamaker, and it's all good stuff. We want to avoid handshakes if possible. I know that it is an etiquette thing, and I'm all about handshakes as a gentleman. But that's something we want to avoid this year. Hopefully we can get back to that because it's very sportsmanlike. We don't want folks to be congregating on tee boxes and greens, not a good thing. And we want to try to expedite play if we can on the green. Hole out and move on to the next tee box. We don't want to be hanging out too much. One of the things that you can expect in the state series that you've probably already seen at most courses, FSGA has told me that more often than not, a course is going to use either some kind of filler in the cup to where the ball's not going all the way in. We're not removing pin flags, for example. So that's the kind of thing that we're looking to minimize. We're not going to be looking to share or exchange paper scorecards. FSGA's larger events, they're not exchanging paper scorecards. Okay, they're still doing it somewhat traditionally, but it depends on from event to event. For us, we're using player-only digital scorecards, meaning the FHSAA Golf App. Cleaning and disinfecting your equipment, very important. I understand that probably the kid's the only one using it, but something to keep in mind. Keep everything clean. Our own recommendations that we have is the use of the electronic scorecard. We encourage you guys to practice using that at practices. You can run a practice round using the digital scorecard. When you're not there at a match, it's real easy. Dole's going to go over that, but it's a way to get the players and you used to going about using the app. We require that score reporting is done all season via Wanamaker. Understand that this is the access that the public has, as spectators have, and your home schools have to what your players are doing, what your program is doing. It's never been available before. And I can tell you, as a former athletic director, I only knew what my golf team was doing or what they had done until after the fact. I mean, they're out there. I know that we sent the check to the host. They went out there and played, and they came back, and I found out if they advanced or not. This provides our folks, our constituents, the opportunity to be a part of your program. And it's real important now more than ever, frankly. All players need to have downloaded and registered on the FHSAA Golf App. And then scoring rounds using the Golf App really eliminates any need to exchange scorecards. Okay. Some of this stuff I've already talked about, but understand in the state series, this is going to be the rule. We are going hole by hole scoring live. It is required. We're using the marker format, and it's players only scoring. Now I'll say this, if you have particular concerns as a coach or as a parent, you can please direct those to your athletic director or to me directly using the contact information there. This is the rule, and we're sticking by it. It is for the good of every player out there. We're trying to mitigate a lot of the risk that folks are concerned about. One item here is we strongly encourage that the players carry their water, their drinks, or their snacks throughout play. Coaches, carry your coolers, do what you can to help facilitate that. But do what you can to make sure that they're as independent as they can be. I know that it's not always possible in some cases, but do your best with that. Okay, coaching advice, spectators. In the state series, and I know this is a question that we get in a lot of sports, and I've got it in golf. When it comes to spectators, we're going to defer to our hosts, meaning the course policies regarding spectators. I can't say at this point I know which course is going to allow spectators or not. I can tell you at the state finals, we're allowing spectators. All right? But just make sure that those spectators are not interacting with the players, or at least not providing any advice. They're there to watch, and that's it. Also understand that from our perspective, and this is true across the association, our policies or our recommendations don't supersede any of the member school or district risk minimization policies or guidelines for play. If your district has a more stringent procedure or policy, follow that. Don't put us in the middle of that. That's not our role. I mean, if you want to look at it one way, we don't sign your paycheck. Consider that. All right, and that, I will stop sharing that. And there's one more thing I would like to share with you guys, and that is your new resource for finding your rules presentation, other information, all the tutorials for Wanamaker. Pull it up here, try and make this happen here. Bear with me again. Okay. Now, what I'm going to share here is home campus. Every coach now should have access to home campus. You need to go ahead and get with your athletic director to make sure that you're in there and you're ready to roll, because FHSAA.com is going to be more spectator friendly. It's going to be geared towards outside of the association, folks who are not in the weeds in the sport. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example coach, and I'm going to pull up Mr. Mosier from American Heritage and show you what his screen is going to look like. Well, I'm going to try. Here we go. And where you can find this information. Right now you're seeing what my screen looks like. Okay. Now when you log into home campus, this is what it looks like on the coach side. Hopefully everybody can see that. Rob, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is your basically what we would call your splash page. But what you're going to need to do to find the golf specific stuff is click on teams, and you'll see the teams there listed that your athletic director has assigned to you. So for Brent, I'm going to go to Varsity Boys Golf. I'm going to click on the VR right there. And this is what pulls up. It's got part of his schedule there. Looks like he was going to play on the 22nd, or played it on Tuesday. Benjamin, I don't know if that actually happened, but that's where your schedule would appear on the athletic director side when they do contracts. Don't expect to see all of your contests there, especially with this sport. But what I can tell you is to go ahead and click on important information right up here, and you'll see this screen. And you'll have access to the rules presentation I just showed you. You'll have access to the golf considerations, which I was on the previous share. And then down here is where we've placed links to, for instance, your district planning meeting dates and locations. Now, all of those have already happened. But as we get closer to that time of year, that'll be updated. So you'll click on that and you'll see it's a live Google form that we update all the time. And then you'll see the links here to the material related to Wanamaker and the app. So you got the top 10. That's the first place you should go when you want to see how do you get started, how the coach gets started, how the players get started. And then you've got the coach's manual, which is a little bit thicker. It's in the weeds, but it's worth the read, especially if you're hosting events. And you really want to take some time to look at this stuff. It's very important. You know, I'll be honest with the folks on the call. One of the things that we struggle with, and I'm sure that most folks struggle with, is folks reading. And if you're a teacher, I know you struggle that with your students as well. But it's real important to make it a point to read and understand what's contained in there, because it'll really help you get through the season and learn the system and make it real smooth as you go forward. And then finally, the last item there, each program, each parent or spectator that buys what we would call a ticket, a season ticket or an event ticket, 20% of what they pay goes back to your program directly. And I believe over 100 schools had folks buy tickets last year. And if I recall, we sent $100 or more to Winter Park because Winter Park parents participated. They watch Winter Park players play throughout the year. I know that when the number is low, it may be a drop in the bucket, but I can tell you that $100 just itself will buy 5 polos, hopefully. Maybe not the best polos, but to buy, help go towards paying that. It may pay for a tournament fee or something like that. It's something to consider, considering that golf is not necessarily a revenue sport. But this is your new hub that you should go to, and please share this information with folks who are not on this webinar today. Real important to know where to go. Okay. Now, let me see here. I am going to go ahead and turn this over to Mr. Heisler. And if you want to go from the top, Doyle, the floor is yours. And just as a note, everybody, we're going to answer these questions that you have in the chat box in the Q&A at the end. All right? Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. This one right here. Okay, can everyone see you got it? Okay, good. All right, well, thank you, Ed. I appreciate that. What I'm going to do in this presentation is show you some things that you normally don't see as a coach. I'm sure everyone on this call has had their hands in, most of them have had their hands in creating an event and managing an event and seeing it all the way through to the end. But I'm going to go over some of that too. But some of the things that coaches don't see is what the golfer sees, right? And what they're seeing on the FHSAA Golf App. So let's get right into this. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about here is what it looks like for a coach to register, because that's really where it really starts, right? You could say maybe the athletic director should be registering first, but let's just walk through what the coach sees. So if you're a new coach in Colorado, an assistant coach or a head coach, what you want to do is go to the App Store and do a search on the FHSAA Golf. And when you enter that string, you will see the FHSAA logo, the golf logo, like on the previous screen. And when you install the app, the first thing you're going to see is this screen here. And so here, what you're going to do is if you don't have an account, you're going to want to choose sign up. If you have an account, just log in. Only one account is required on the iWanamaker platform. We offer the app in 10 to 12 different states. And so even if a coach moves from one state to another, that login still works. Just like the login works for a golfer, a student athlete from one year to the next. So if you were to click on or touch on sign up, then the first thing we ask for is an email and a password. You click next, you put in your first and last name, and then you're going to pick that I'm a high school golf coach. You can then get to the next screen and type in search on, because there's going to be a list of 500 and some schools here. You can either scroll and find your school, or you can search. I'm going in here as American Heritage, Delray Beach. The next screen, you're going to choose whether you are the boys or girls or both. And all you have to do is touch to checkbox that you are one or both of the coaches for each of the teams. The next step is if you have been added or not. Let's say you weren't added as a coach and you're going to put yourself in as new. You just say add me as new, touch done, and then it's going to move. It's going to change to add me as a new coach. If for some reason the head coach put an assistant coach in, and then when you get to this point, if the last name is spelled the same, then the assistant coach could match up with an entry that was added earlier by the head coach. And then when you get that all done, you will get a congratulations, and you simply touch on OK, and you'll then land, oops, I'll go back one here. You'll land on the getting started screen. And at that point, you're pretty much done with the app because you as a coach now are registered as a coach or an assistant coach. And you'll come back to the app to check to see if the first event that you created is ready to go and ready to score. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the next thing you want to do is go to a browser on a laptop or desktop and just sign it at iWanamaker.com. Now you'll get an email too, congratulating you that, you know, and welcoming you to being a coach at the FHSAA site. And so it'll tell you to go sign in at iWanamaker.com. A lot of people miss the sign in piece. When you get here, you're going to sign in. The one thing that you will have as a coach is that you'll be able to sign in on 2 different devices at the same time. So that if you happen to be creating and managing an event, that you can be testing it on the device at the same time. Okay, but not 3, just 2 devices at once. And any more than that, you'll kick out the previous one, right? So if you sign in on the app and then on the web and then in on another device, then the app you'll get signed out on the app because that was the first one. So when you land on iWanamaker.com, you'll just click on sign in. And once you sign in, you'll find yourself on a screen that looks very similar to this here. So since I registered as the American Heritage Delray Beach coach, then it's going to be very easy for me to get to my school. I would just click on this right here. We made it nice and big so you can't miss it. Many times the only problems that we run into is where people are not signed in. And so if you're signed in and registered with the same email, if you registered with a specific email and then you signed in with that email, you'll see this. I want to mention here that the best thing, one thing you got to remember is how to get back to your school, because this site is built for many state associations, right, and junior golf leagues. So by getting back to your school, just click on the iWanamaker logo, as it says right here, and then click on your school. And then that will take you to your school. You'll know you're at your school by the name here and your logo. When you're on this page, everything is about your school. Everything is somehow connected to your school. The events that your school is in, the athletic directors at your school, the coaches, the rosters, the rankings, the stats, the schools, and in being able to edit the school will be there if you have the privileges to do that. Okay? To navigate back to the top level meaning that it's at the FHSAA site level, right? That's where you would see statewide rankings. You'd see all the events across the whole state. Okay, so you can get there just by clicking on this, what's called a breadcrumb. Now looking at the breadcrumb, I know that I'm here, and so I can go back by clicking right here. To get to an event, and this is very important, some people get confused, they always click on edit event. You can also click on the event itself, and that will take you to the event's homepage. The event's homepage is going to be where you see the event leaderboard. It's going to allow you to do things that are specific to the event. If you want to look into past events or today's or upcoming, you can click there as well. If you do want to go into edit mode, you would just click on edit event. You notice that I don't have the edit privileges here because I went in as the girls coach. I don't have the privilege to edit a boys event. Okay, so some of you might be both, and so you'd have the ability to edit both. Okay, so now what I'm showing you here is I've navigated back, because now you see that I'm at the league level. So at that point, I've clicked back and I've gone back to the state highest level, right? The other way to get here is to click on leagues and then choose Florida. So at the top level, and then I clicked on rankings, and this is the ranking information. We invested a lot of money in the ranking system where we added, I think, 18 categories for you guys so that it's a tool to help you do the things that you do as a high school golf coach. And that is by clicking right here on and I'll show you live what this is all about a little later, but this is just a presentation right now. So you click on this here and you'll see all the options that you have to choose. Like you can right now see the number of birdies that your team has at this point in time of the season. You have the ability to switch between 9-hole and 18-hole rounds. You can filter in on class, region, and district, boys or girls. You can even go look at last year's, right? This is an archive and a live database that is yours. And I always like to say, some people call me and they say, I'm calling about my app. This is not my app. This is your app. I built this for you, right? The iWanamaker platform powers your app. That's probably the best way to say it. So this is, and then right here on this ranking information, I recommend click on that. That'll open up a page. You can read all about the categories and how IWRs are calculated. I talked about those earlier and that sort of thing. Most of the stuff is pretty intuitive, but for the beginners, sometimes it can be a little bit daunting. What does this look like? Now I'm going to go through the golfer registration. So you tell your golfer, and we highly recommend, populate your roster, make it easy on you. This application is supposed to make your life easier, and it will if you just say to you at your first team meeting, golfers, first step, go get the FHSAA Golf App. And when they do, this is what they're going to see. Okay, so they're gonna download the app, and kids, there's I think somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 to 50,000 high school golfers that have the apps right now across the United States. Very simple, very intuitive for them. They get the app, they sign up with their email, they put their password in, they do the first and last name, they say I'm a high school golfer, they pick the school that they're going to. We ask for their gender, which team you're playing for, the year you graduate, very simple stuff. They click next. Then they hit I'm going to add myself as new, or I'm going to try and match up with an entry that was created by my coach. And you can do that. But I want to pause here for a minute and tell you that most of the issues that we have seen, almost all the issues we've seen with golfers not being able to score be a marker, let's just say it that way, to be a marker for another golfer in their pairing, is because the coach mistyped the last name for whatever reason. And then the golfer comes in and they can't match up because they put their name in as probably the right way, right? And then there was just a difference in spelling, and now they're going to add themselves as a second entry in the roster. So to avoid that, it's better just to say, get the app, or to make sure that the last name is spelled exactly the way the golfer is going to spell it. Okay? So then I chose here to add myself as new. I finished, I clicked OK, I touched on OK, and I landed on the getting started screen. At that point, I'm ready to go find and score an event. So what does that look like? The golfer scoring piece. When they sign in, they touch on find an event. Here I see the list of events, and today there was, I want to say, or yesterday I think I looked, 120 events across the state of Florida. There was 350 events across the whole United States. So just imagine how many golfers, coaches, parents are interacting with their app, and they're all powered by the iWanamaker backend. So just know that there's a lot of activity every day across the United States on the apps. So here I searched on American, came up. I'm going to touch on this bottom one here, and I'm going to land on the event homepage. With golfer only scoring, and the only person that can enter scores, the only users are golfers. And that is, how do we know you're a golfer? Because you are entered on the golfer roster within an event. And we're only going to show the score round to people who show their credentials, and we look and compare and say, yeah, you're on this list, so we're going to show you the score round button, the item here. Once they touch on that, right here, what this is over here, the screen on the left here, this is the pairing. So let's say they touched on pairings here. But if they touched on score round, they're going to land on this middle screen here. And right now at this point, I'm in as Rose Plessity, and I know I'm scoring for Manuela. And I should announce that. I should announce that now, Manuela, I'm marking for you today. Please report your scores to me. And throughout the round, she will report the scores. This is what it looks like when a golfer touches on the button right here. And you can see that I can't change the scores for myself, and I can't change the scores for Mia. I'm marking for Manuela. When I touch on that button, this is the quick way to touch a 4 or whatever it might be on that hole. So that's what they do 9 times if it's a 9-hole match. And how do they change the holes? They just touch on hole up here. It's very simple, intuitive. You just touch on hole and you select the hole and you touch done. And now I move to the second hole. After I'm done with that, I touch and I put the score in there. I repeat that until we get done. When at any time during the round, I have the ability to touch on and look at a scorecard just by a simple touch. I want to look at my scorecard, touch on my name. I want to look at Manuela's, I touch on her name. Mia's, I touch on her name. It's very easy. Like for example, on Manuela's, I just touch on it and I touch this area right back again. It just takes a quick second to go to, look at the scorecard and come back in again. And you notice that when she went to here is that who's the scorer? Well, it's me. Can I attest her scorecard? No, I don't have the ability to attest her scorecard. I don't have the ability to attest Manuela's scorecard either. I can only attest my scorecard, sign and attest my scorecard. So it's important to understand how easy it is to go back and forth here, because so many golfers, from the first time they started playing golf, they were taught to keep marker notes and then compare those marker notes against their scorecard at the end of the round. That's a thing of the past, because you have access to your scorecard. There should not be a review of a scorecard at the end of the round. You should be reviewing, as Rule 3.3b, your score per hole, so that when you do get to the end of the round, all you have to do is validate and sign your scorecard. So that's how a little bit of navigating. Here's what it looks like. Now I went to my scorecard, and the reason this popped up here was because there was one score. You can't see it's behind your hole. Hole number 9 was not scored yet. So I would have said to my marker, please, Mia, I'd have said, Mia, will you please put in my 9th hole, the score for my 9th hole? And then Mia would do that. I would go back and come back here and I would hit refresh. And now when I touch on touch to attest right here, that's all they have to do. It says right here, touch to attest. And you can read what it says. It says, make sure your scores are accurate, because when you attest this, you're signing it and it's locking it. And the only way to change these scores is by a person who can manage this event on the back end. It cannot be changed again on the app. It's locked, and now you move on and you get a nice congratulatory message, and there's really no reason to report to the official scoring area, because you're done. And now you can go find your team and talk with your coach. So that's the process.
On this in particular, so the person on the back end that can only change that would be the tournament manager.
That's correct.
Okay, and then another question, because we probably get more rain than anybody in the world of golf. Suppose this match were rain shortened. They only get to hole number 7. How would this be handled on the player level and then on the tournament manager level?
So you're not going to be able to test, because you're going to get this incomplete scorecard. You're going to have to, you know, and you have voiced this, right, to a lot of coaches, that you can't make up scores. You're done, basically. You close the round, and that's it, right? That's all you can do. And so you're not going to be able to sign a incomplete scorecard. Okay. But that round should be closed to block any changes to the scores. So at that point, the coach would then just close the round, which you can do on the app, and you go home.
And we would recommend that on the event itself, that the tournament manager indicate on the event title that the event was rain shortened or something to that effect.
Good, yeah, good point. That's a very good idea, because that way everyone knows it's something that is documented in time, right? And so that you ever want to go back, you know, and review your events for the season, you'd see that, oh yeah, that's right, that one was canceled because of rain.
And then, but if the players or the teams were to come back together, they could potentially complete that round later on. Would that?
Yes, they could. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Now, one of the things you could do if you're concerned at all about anyone putting scores in while they're not playing is the manager can, right on the app, close that round temporarily, right? Because that stops all scoring. And then when you're ready to resume, open it up again. So you have the ability as a coach to stop all scoring at any moment just by closing the round. That stops all scoring, okay? Now, closing the round also submits to the rankings, but as soon as you open it, it pulls all that back out of the rankings. Okay, so an open round, closing a round writes the scores to the rankings, opening it pulls them back out again. Okay, any more questions, Ed, or should I go on?
No, that was me. Move on.
Okay, all right, so now if a player wants to go look at the leaderboards, what we did this year is we defaulted the leaderboard to the team leaderboard, because we've been told many times that this is a team sport. In high school, it's all about teams. Yeah, it's about individual too, but it's a lot more fun when kids can compete as a team against their rivalry schools and whatnot. So what you'll notice this year, when you go to the events, by default, you'll land on the team leaderboard. And so this is what it looks like right here in the middle, in the top. You'll know where your team stands through 8, and now they can compete as a team. And I've heard this from many coaches. This is the part they love the most, is that this is a team camaraderie, team chemistry tool that the kids can use as they play to sort of, rally, if you will, right? And I've seen it happen in many events and I've talked to many kids who just get energized when they see their team jumping up and down that leaderboard. So it's really cool. Some of the new features this year that you didn't have last year, and what I'm showing here is that when the round is being scored, you're going to see a number with respect to par. When you finish, and this would have to be marked as a 9-hole round, otherwise it's not going to do this down here. But this is a 9-hole round, and as soon as the 9th scores are put in for all players, you're going to see the total. Coaches have asked for this for years, and we finally added it. Sorry for taking so long. This was asked for by Arizona coaches for the last 5 years. But anyway, so we finally figured out how to do it, and now you have that very easy, here's your number. And the same thing for the, you can see here on the individual, these players aren't done yet. They're still with respect to par. But we still rank the players based on where they stand with respect to par, because this number right here was even par, right? So that's why she's ahead of Bruna right there. So we still rank it the same way. And then when everyone's done, everyone flips. Golfers love this. Now they can see their number. They can see their total. At any time on any leaderboard, you can touch on team to get to your team, to be able to see your team and how your team is doing against each other. You can also touch on an individual and get to their scorecard. And I recommend just playing with this. There's lots of events out there. You can go, even when the event is closed and all done, you can still go in and look at scorecards. And you can see where we marked them also. If it's under par, it's red, black if it's even, and then green if it's over. Okay, so actually one more thing I should mention here is that your logo. Okay, so the logo, if it's an individual leaderboard and the golfer has actually gone in and updated their profile with their profile picture, that will show up on the individual leaderboard. But on the team leaderboard, it will always be the logo that's loaded on the team step in the event management. And that gets pulled from your team, from when you go to your homepage, when I showed you when you land on your homepage, that logo up there, that gets pulled into all the events. If you update that, it's only going to be, with all the events going forward, right? Because it gets actually a copy of whatever it was. So you can always go into the event and change the logo too if you want to change it. So what this is now what I've done as the golfer is I've navigated, I've gotten back out of the event and I touch on the menu item right here. Almost all apps have this sort of thing where you touch on this, and that allows you to log out, go to schools, find your event going through schools, go to the rankings, go to the events, and getting started. You also see your email right here, the way you're logged in. One of the things that we're working on right now is to enhance the player profile, where they can be able to put their picture up here, manage their profile while they're signed into the app. That will come out later on this year. The rankings, when you touch on rankings, you're going to notice that we defaulted to the team, right? And you can scroll up and down and view rankings. You can't drill into the rankings yet here, but you can on the website. Here's all the different categories that were added. All you had last year was IWR. Now you got scoring average, pars, birdies. And what pars are is how many pars has my team had through the amount of rounds that we played this year so far. Same thing follows through all the way through here. And that's one of the reasons why we always have adhered to entering hole by hole scores. And so if it's all done right, all scores are attested by their marker, right? By, each of they work this out. And now you've got an accurate way to determine, how many birdies, who's leading in birdies across the state and that sort of thing. You can imagine, just go in here and play around with this stuff. If you choose not to enter your fairways, then you're not going to have a fairway average. But if you tell your kids to enter, your fairways, then you're going to have that. Fairways totals, fairway average, greens and regulation, all that sort of thing. Okay, so closing around. Now this is all app-based, right? So now we're going back to what the coach does because only the coach can do this. So to close around, you go to the event homepage, you touch on edit, you touch on rounds. And the reason you touch on this is because you could have a multiple round, right? You could have round 1 and round 2. In this case, we got one round. I touch on round 1, and now this round is open. And it explains what this is all about, right? And all you do is slide the slider, and now you're completely done. And this event is complete. And so we did this so that ideally, if you don't have any last minute changes, you do not have to go back to the website, right? You set it all up, you head to the course, and if there are no changes, you're good to go. Golfers score it, everyone's done, scorecards are signed, close the round. That's the process. Now, if you do need to make some last minute changes, a lot of coaches have learned that they can just open up their browser on their phone and they can log into iWanamaker.com and they can use Chrome on their phone to make last minute changes. I do not recommend doing an entire event that way because you're pinching out in and out a lot and that sort of thing. Unless you got a really large format phone, it might work pretty well for you, but you can make last minute changes. What we will be adding more and more features under the edit event step right here. And that's why it just says rounds. Eventually it's going to say pairings and courses, and you're going to be able to make changes to everything on the app where you won't have to go back to the web down the road at all.
It would, from our perspective, and this would be consistent with what we do across our sports, is generally the team or the school that is hosting an event will set up an event. So when we're talking about a dual match or a tri match or something to that effect, it would be the responsibility of the home team, if you will, to set this up. And we strongly encourage our coaches, our event hosts, to communicate with the schools that are participating. Reach out and contact your folks that are participating, so you can get in front of some of these things. If you are encountering or going to a match where the school is not quite up to speed yet on this, talk to them, help them set it up, do a little, direct them to this webinar. But it's something where we don't need to make a mountain out of a molehill.
Right. Now, Ed, I don't know how much time we have, but I mean, at this point, I could walk through the event setup process, but I just don't know how we're doing on time.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I just did is I'm signed in as support at iWanamaker.com here, and I'm at the top level, and you just saw that. Now I know that Benjamin is leading with a number of birdies through 9 rounds on the season. So all these options are available, and if you want to read about them and how they're done, just click on ranking information right here. Again, you've got, you're going to have this archive. In 5 years, you're going to be able to go back and look at how your team did and what the rankings were at that time. We spent a lot of time on the rankings over the summer. We also, as you noticed, spent a lot of time on the scoring, right? The place, being able to do the scorecard exchange. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is I'm trying to think what I could. I'm not going to be able to show this from the perspective of being Rose Plessy because I did that on our staging environment, but I'm going to still go walk through and I'll just create an event here. So if I go to, let's just say that I'm the coach at, I guess I can still do it. I'll do the same. I'm the coach at American Heritage here.
Joel, you could set one up under FHSAA if you like.
Yeah, I could do that. Good idea. So I can just go back here. So I can go to schools. And yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, this could be like the like a regional or a state championship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you can see, again, these are all of the, if you ever want to go back and look at a state tournament, the fastest way to get there is to go to because the FHSAA, Ed created these because he was the host, right? And so he has people helping him host them, but they're all here. And over time, you're going to see more and more events show up here. So now I'm gonna create an event. So I'm gonna go to today, and I'll delete this event when I'm done. So don't worry that if I pick a team and we put some scores in. So I simply go to today, and I can do this under whatever school I'm in. I can always go and find this Create League event if I'm a coach for that school. So this is a very simple 3-step process that you're going to walk through each time you create a match. Okay, so let's just say it's for tomorrow, and I think a lot of them are played at 3:30 or so. So I can do my spinner here, and I can pick 3:30. You notice I can either click on it or I can spin it, and then PM, and I click set. Eastern time is good. It's a standard event. We're doing boys. It's a tournament, not a practice. Varsity. Click next. Pick the home team. In this case, there's no players for the Florida High School Activities Association, but again, we'll just go through it like it is a district tournament or something like that. Okay, so I just roll down until I find FHSAA, and then I could pick all my visiting schools. But what I want to do in this presentation is that to show you if you're doing a tournament where it's all the teams from a district, the best and fastest way to do this. Now again, I could pick the teams here and I could just click next and finish. But I'm going to say this is just I'll just say District 1. You know, for sake of time here, just District 1 tournament, right? So I'll just finish that. And now I'm going to go pull all the teams from District 1 into this tournament. So now I landed, and again, like I said before, this is the event homepage. So if I want to go and come back here, I would just click on the event and not on edit event. Clicking on edit event is going to, and let me just show you what I mean by that. So if I go back to the FHSAA and I go to schools, and I go to the FHSAA, and I go here, I should see an upcoming event right here, District 1. Now, if I click here, I go to the event. If I click here, I'm in edit mode. So let's just go to the event. There's no leaderboard yet. There's no rosters yet. There's no players in this tournament yet. So I can edit the event and add them. Okay, so District 1, I got boys. I don't need to change this. One of the things that we don't do right now is turn on exchange of scorecards. But in this situation, I would want to turn that on because, you know, when you're ready. So I should talk about this for a second. So if you leave this on no, you should never change this to not golfers only because golfers are doing the scoring this year. If you're not ready to exchange scorecards, then what this means is that in this mode right here is that golfers are going to be able to, one golfer can put scores in for everyone in their pairing, okay? That's this mode right here. And and again, you can see where I can hover over this and read about this. If I turn this to yes, that means that every single golfer will be a marker for someone else in their pairing, okay? So that's what you'd want to do is set that when you're ready to make it happen, okay? To navigate this event management interface, you can either click on next or you can click on the step. So what you're seeing here is that I got some favorites, and you can do this. You can go do a search up here for the golf course that you play at a lot. When you find that, you can add it as a favorite. Okay, so I'm going to right click and open this. I'm going to open up a new tab. That's, by the way, I don't know if I use multiple tabs when I'm working in the system. So I got this tab and I got this tab. So I can click on search, and I live next to a golf course called Pine Creek. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and search for that. And if I find that, I'm going to add it as a favorite. Okay, here it is. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to add it. I guess it's already a favorite. So I would have a button here if I wanted to make it a favorite. I could click on add to favorites. Okay, so done with that tab. Come back here and now here it is, right? Oh, there it is right there, right? So it was added and now I can just simply, boom, add it to the event. So it's going to save you some time to go find your favorite course and make it your favorite. Find your course and make it your favorite. Okay. So then what pops up here, and this is important to look at this because many times the USGA doesn't have the most accurate yardages and pars for the scorecards. We pull this information from the USGA. So it's important if you have a scorecard, if you have to make changes here, to make them. What you do not want to make changes to is right here. This information is maintained by in your state, the Florida Golf Association, and in conjunction with the USGA. Okay, so these numbers are very important. They're used in the rankings. Okay, so
Can I add something?
Yes.
Yeah, so in some cases we've encountered situations where the actual course setup didn't necessarily reflect what was in the database. We would encourage you to reach out to FSGA to assist with that situation. So that is accurate for when you guys put it together. This is especially true when we get to the state series,
That's right.
where it matters most.
Yep, that's exactly right. And here, how the rating of tee boxes works is, coaches, is the FHS or the Florida State Golf Association visits all the courses that are members of the USGA. There are some courses that are not members, and in those cases, maybe they're just using the last rating that was given to that tee box. There's nothing we can do about that. We can only use what the course has. Obviously, the Florida State Golf Association wants to and have every golf course rated. And so if that's not the case, then that's their job to make sure that happens. Every 4 years in the state of Colorado, and I think it's the same everywhere, every 4 years, the FSGA, they visit every golf course and they re-rate. They go through a re-rating process. They take that information, they put it up on, and if you ever want to go look at this, if you're interested, it's the USGA ncrdb.usga.org. You can have all kinds of fun here to find out, you can look at any state, you can write, and whatever golf courses are here, you can find them. So if you go to Florida and you click submit, you're going to see a list of every single golf course that is currently paying their dues to the FSGA and the USGA. And that, what they get for that is to have their golf course and tee boxes rated. Okay, so that's just something that you can go to. We sync with that. All right. What I want to mention here is very important. The tee box drop down here, some people get confused, like you're picking the tee box that you're going to play from. Not at all. All this is that, oh, I think we're going to play the blue. All you're doing when you're doing that is you're just looking at the yardages to make sure they're right. That doesn't necessarily mean that this is the tee box that the players are playing. This is just, it's a scorecard. That's all it is. The assigning of a tee box happens on the round step. And the reason that is because you may have a mixture of boys and girls in the same event. Well, we're not letting you pick, boy, this is just if I'm playing here's a good example. So let's say that we have boys and girls playing in the same event. Well, I know that the boys are playing the blues. I look at that. Yep, looks good. And the girls are playing the whites. I look at that. Oh, change here. I make a change. Right? I'm going to delete this event anyway. So let's say it's 358. I do that, right? And I click on save and close. Most importantly is the pars. Get those right. So now I've just made sure that the tee boxes that the boys and girls are playing are accurate. That's all this step is for. Get a course, make sure the scorecard is right. Go on to the next step. This is kind of like a validation step. You can kind of see, okay, here are the managers of the event, the coaches of the event. We haven't had any golfers yet. I can add golfers here if I want. Most people like to jump right to the team step and do it there. I'm going to show you both ways, okay? So that's why, you can be at this point and you can add from leagues here. What's really important about being able to do it here, I'm going to show you this right now, is that you have the ability, there are times where you have boys, girls playing in a boys event. And so they're on a girls roster. So how do I do that? Well, all the rosters in this event are probably going to be boys event because I chose this as a boys event. So I would here switch this to girls, and now I have the ability to pull a girl from an event from another school into this event. Okay, so that's a feature we just added. So for you to be able to run an event, and sometimes this happens in remote areas where they want to give, there's maybe one girl on a team. Here's an example. Where's she going to play? Where's she going to play in a boys event? Well, this is what you'd have to do. You'd bring her into this event right here. Now, let's just do it since we're here. We'll add her to that event. You guys are probably going to laugh at me because I'm probably picking schools that are 150,000 miles apart, whatever. So now I went back. Now we got golfers. We got one golfer in here. I can see that she's got a swoosh. That means that Roxy is ready to score, because this swoosh means that she has the app. She's registered. And as long as she signs in with this email right here, she's going to be able to score for another player, and be a marker in this event. Okay, the same thing with the managers. You can see that the swoosh is here. And you can also, by the way, you can email here too. Many of you have used this where you can say, send a message to selected. Okay, so let's get some teams in here from District 1, okay? And the reason I did this was because now it's going to be faster for me to get all the teams, all the boys teams from District 1, because all I got to do is come in here, select District 1, and be able to just walk down the list here and choose all these teams that are playing in the District 1 tournament. And once I get them all selected, then I'll be able to import them all. I don't need to keep going on. You guys can do that, right? So we're going to import them into this event. And what that just did is that brought in a lot of things, right? It did logos, it did the team name, it did the abbreviation, all the way down the list, okay? So that was the team stuff, right? So I just brought the teams in. Now, if I would have done that over here, I could have, and not a lot of people do it this way, maybe some do, but I could have done the same thing over here, but I would have been able to pick the golfers at the same time, so it's one shot, right? So I'm District 1 here, I can go right here, and I can say I'm bringing Roman. We're going to bring, we can sort on seed here, and we're going to get the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5 golfers. So you can see that Trevor and Tony are not ready. They're not ready to score because there's no swoosh here. They don't have the app yet. Okay. So then I could go down and I could do that for all the players. I'm not going to bore you with clicks, right? So you could do that, and then your teams start to get populated. If you need to change a seed, for example, let's say that Roman is really a number 1 player. I don't know how you determine that, but let's just say that you thought that Roman was, right? So you come back over here to people golfers, and you have the ability to change the seed right here for a player. Once they're brought into the event, what you saw when I went to add from leagues, and the seeds that are at the league level, those are just starters, right? That's just a way for coaches to communicate. Yeah, grab my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I can quickly sort on this. So this isn't going to be, right? We don't know what's going on here with these zeros, but if I knew that he said, yeah, grab my 1, 2, and 3, I would know that because coach told me, get my 1, 2, and 3, and I would import them. But let's just say that now actually all these golfers are coming, right? So I'm going to show you how I can change some seeds after I've brought them in. So once I've imported them, because the coach, for whatever reason, didn't have his seeds up to date, I have the ability to change those seeds on the people golfers step. And all I'd have to do is sort on team. By the way, you can click on any column header here to sort on the seed. And now I'm going to go down here to my zeros, right? And let's just say I have no idea what they would be seated, but I got a 2 up above there. I'm going to do a 1 and a 3, and let's do a 4 and then a 5. So now I've got the seed set for the person who's doing the pairings. Now it's going to be easier for that person to do the pairings, right? And so the other thing I can do is I can do a multiple sort. I can hold the shift key down and sort. I can sort again. And now I've got my, I can see, oh, I got a problem here. I've got 2 number 1s from the, I guess not. No, I'm good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I got some 1s there. So I'm good. I'm ready to do my pairings. Obviously, I don't have all the teams in there yet, but I'm not going to bore you with that. So I'm on the round step, and you saw there, I just clicked on rounds, right? I can navigate either with the next button, or I can just click on the step. I'm going to add a round. Let's say this is a standard start, and let's just keep it at 9 holes. And we're going to do well, actually, it's going to be 18 because it's going to be a district, right? So now we're going to do a standard start. We're going to start on hole number 1, 10-minute interval. This is going to be my default tee. And obviously these kids are going to come to Colorado and play on Pine Creek. So I'm going to add some golfers here, but now I can go ahead and add. You can see what's happening. There's a standard start, and they're all 10 minutes apart. I can change that. I can click and change this anytime where I want, right? That's changeable. This is changeable. I can even change the course if I had 2 courses. I can change the tee box after I get a player in. So let's just add some players here. Let's sort on. Not all of them have IWRs yet. Early in the season, let's just use Cs, right? So let's go ahead and grab our number 1s. Okay, we'll put 4 in that pairing. We'll grab and put, and now I'm down to my number 2s here. I should really be careful here to make sure I don't have players from the same team in the same event. By the way, if you do, actually, let's do that. So what will happen here, if I'm doing exchange of scorecards, what the system will do, it will not assign a freedom, whatever team this is, to a free team, or vice versa. You know, it will not assign. It's going to assign opposite teams to keep score for each other as markers. Okay, the system automatically does that. I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you probably end up doing that because you have a lot of smaller events. So now once I have the teams I have the players in these events, and let's say I do one thing here, right? Because I brought a girl, Roxy, right? So she's not playing from the white. Shoot, we did all females. Oh, let's fix that real quick. So I'm gonna change from white female to blue male, change them and update them all. Okay, now we're all at blues, right? But now all I gotta do is go back and change Roxy's to a white female. Isn't that slick? So now you've got all the boys on the blues and you got Roxy on the whites. Perfect. Roxy's IWR is gonna be calculated based on the tee she's playing. I click next, and that's saving the event, updating all of the marking assignments, and this event is ready. Now I can continue to go next. No changes needed here. We highly recommend leave the team gross there. It makes it kind of fun for the players, the teams to compete as teams. You could change that to individual gross if you wanted to. Click next. I can put some information in here. I can save the event rules. I can email managers from here, basically jumps me back to this step. I can print out materials, but as Ed said, paper's done. We're doing everything online. And now I can click next, and it tells you, hey, to make sure this is working, go get the app and test it out. And if you went and tested this out, you'd see that this event is ready to be scored. And if I wanted to see the pairings for the individuals, I can jump here and do this. And now I can see when everyone is teeing off and who they're playing with based on the time here. Okay? So changing the leaderboard right here, very simple. You just click on that and you change the leaderboard from team. On the app, it's a swipe. Swipe left, swipe right. Gets you to each one. On the app, pulling down will refresh that leaderboard. It's the same effect as doing this right here, refreshing scores. So know that on the scorecard screen, right? And I can jump back in here real quick and kind of go back to showing you this screen right here. So, no, not there, here. So if I pull down on this, if I just take my finger and I swipe down on Manuela's scorecard, that refreshes the scorecard. If I'm sitting on the scorecard and I want to refresh it, I just pull down on it, right? I can do that on leaderboards as well. So if I'm sitting on the leaderboard, if I pull down on this here, it refreshes it. It's the same thing as clicking on this guy right here. Okay?
Doyle.
Yes.
Doyle, one point of emphasis that I would like to make is that in some cases last year we experienced parents trying to access the events using their son or daughter's account. Now, if the parent is using an account, or any spectator for that matter, the player's account during the match, that's going to kick the kid out, right?
That's right. And that every user on the system, on the platform, needs to have their own email account. That's very important, right? Now, if a mom and dad want to share that, that's fine there, right? Because they might want to share a ticket. If they want to support their team, they might want to each buy a ticket and they'll support their team, right? But good point, Ed. That is going to cause lots of problems. And it can be very embarrassing too, because all of a sudden, if something goes awry and a parent signs in with the kid's email, mom or dad's name shows up here, right? So make sure you tell your golfers, this is your account, protect it. Do not share the password or your email with anyone else. And that's the same thing with anyone that signs in.
And more importantly, it'll impact around when we're doing players only scoring.
Oh, absolutely. They will not be able to be a marker, and that's going to cause a lot of frustration by a lot of people. And then think about that, who that's going to frustrate. If Ed is marking for me and Ed can't put a score in for me, that affects me, right? That's going to cause maybe some irritation on his part as well as me. So it's important to understand that when you are acting as a marker for someone else, that it's your responsibility to get that player's scores in the system. And so that's why it's important. I think it's probably good to reemphasize what Ed said earlier. Set up some practice rounds. You can actually do a virtual event. What I just did, you could do a virtual event some evening where you set up a quick event and you blast it out and say, kids, go score this event. And all your golfers on your team can go do it and say, and report to me who can't score. And then contact iWanamaker support if you can't. But the first thing you should look for and why someone can't score is to go to people and golfers. Because right now I can tell you that Cooper is not going to be able to score. Spence is not going to be able to, Tony's not going to, and Trevor, because they're not scores.
That's how we checked it last year at the state finals.
Yep. And so if you see, if let's say Liam says, I can't score, coach, well, come here and look and say, Liam, what are you signed in with? I can guarantee you this, there's been thousands of scores, markers so far this year that have marked for others. And it always works. If it doesn't work, it's because that golfer, for whatever reason, decided to use a different email. And now they're signed in with something other than this. Okay, so it's very important to understand how you can troubleshoot this. Hey, I take calls all day long from coaches who need help. And I'm more than willing to do that because sometimes you're out in the course and, hey, I got a golfer that can't score. I get a call and 9 times out of 10, it's a misspelling of a name and a golfer got put in the roster twice. Or the golfer decided to use a different email, or they had 2 accounts. I had one kid had 6 accounts. Like, oh gosh, how are we going to settle this? And so it takes time to get it done, but do all that in a practice event so it never happens in a real match. Okay. So again, you saw probably a good idea. Save and exit. That'll save everything and brings you back to the event homepage. What else do you have on the event homepage? You got the ability to look at details for the event. That's kind of boring. Scoreboards is for large screen. Not a lot of you be doing that. Everyone's got a leaderboard in their pocket nowadays, right, on the app. You got your rankings. Now the rankings will be there once the scores are entered. That's kind of neat to be able to look at the analysis of the event, how many birdies and that sort of thing. The next one, that because these kids aren't going to score this live, you know, what you can do, let's just say that you needed to enter some scores for a player, then you would come in here and you would fix any scores. So if they, for some reason, were not able to score, this is how you would do it. And you've got to make sure that you save it. And if they're all correct, you can even lock it. Locking it saves it as well. If I need to do something with a player from this team, for whatever reason, they withdrew, right? Let's say that they scored through a couple of holes here, right? So I do that, and then I mark this player as WD. They withdrew, and I save that, right? And then you can put the rest of the scores in, and I'm not going to bore you with putting a bunch of scores in here because you shouldn't have to do this anyway. These scores should be put in by the golfers after every hole because that is good digital scorecard etiquette, is to be a marker ready to score for another player in your group. And all you have to do is record that score when that player reports it to you. Okay, so that's that. I don't really, I mean, the only other thing would be to close an event. If you're not going to close it from the app, you can always, and all this edit event, you can do it 2 ways. I'll show you both. Edit event and go to rounds and close this round. Okay, the other way to do it, and all we did here, we just gave you a shortcut to save you 1 click. Takes you right here. And now you can click on close round. And when this round is closed, it submits everything to the rankings and you're done. Now you could have done this from the app too, but you know, you choose where you want to do it from. Other than that, we've gone through this. If you're concerned at all about someone manipulating the event, the first thing I recommend, if you got a big time event and you don't want everyone editing the event, then come in here and limit this list. So let's say that you know what, I only want myself and I don't know, maybe this FHSAA person, let's just say we need 3 people that have edit privileges on this event. Then I can come in and I can delete everyone else. Only these 3 people. Now think about what you've done here, what I've done. So only these 3 people can see the edit results, can make any changes to the edit results. So we've limited the scoring to 3 people so far, and the markers, because I set this event to scorecard exchange. So now you've really narrowed the focus as to who can put scores in for a player. Those 3 people I mentioned on the people managers section, and the marker himself. So really 4 people can enter scores for that one player. And so now you know it's either one of these 3 or that marker. The reason we have the coaches step is so now even though I pared down or trimmed down my manager section and I want to blast an email out to the coaches, no problem. Come here, blast the email out. So that's why there's the managers and coaches sections. A little bit of functionality there. That's that. Now, I don't want to get at the state tournament. We'll talk about officials and that sort of thing. How you put an official in here and how they can get the. And I guess it might be a good time to talk about that. The need a ruling, need official ruling. If you're running a district and you do have rules officials and you hand enter them in here, that person, whoever you put in here, will get an email when a golfer says, I need a ruling on hole number 6. So who gets those? Managers and officials.
We did not use that last year. We did see some of those emails come through. I don't know that we're going to expect to be using that feature this year, although we'd be open to folks using it.
Okay. So there you go. And then the event log is just a log of an Excel spreadsheet. It's pretty basic. It tells you, what happened, who went in and edited the event, and if someone's changing scores, it's all, look at there. We record the what happened and how it was, who edited it. So iWanamaker edited this here, right? We know who edited it. It was me, support, and the score was updated, and I updated these scores on hole number 1 from a 0 to a 4. It was done by, I did it for this golfer. So all this information is logged. So just know that the secure scoring piece really locks down everything about golf. And these are all features that were asked of us to put in because golfers or coaches just wanted these features. Your app is really feedback from you because as you put in requests to us, we continue to add features. So that makes your life easier, right? So one thing I should show you is when I go to the team and I do change, one of the things that you can do both on the app and here is to click on a team and quickly see what's going on with your team. That's available both on the app and on the website.
All right. Are we ready to move on to the Q&A section?
I believe so. I'm going to leave this open in case anyone has any questions here, but yeah, I've covered everything that I want to cover. The other thing that we should probably talk about, which Ed, you talked about, is getting access to help. And we've added some videos. The first 5 are very good. If you want to get off and understand everything about this, like 2,000 people did in Illinois over the past 3 weeks, this is where they start. If they watch these videos, you're pretty much ready to roll. And here's our contact information as well. Yeah,
I strongly encourage our event hosts to have that number available, especially prior to an event when you're dealing with new folks. Okay, I've got the list of questions here that have been submitted, and we'll go through these one at a time and in the order that we received them. And some of these will be for you, and some of these will be for me, and then perhaps Rob will be able to answer some of them as well. The first one is from Anonymous. The issue all the counties are having is that schools are hiring coaches that do not know anything about golf, and they don't help input results. Also, the app is confusing for coaches. Okay. Rain, hurricanes, and other course issues are preventing us from keeping accurate results. These are some of the major issues when you put ranking in the apps. The parents think it is an official ranking for colleges. So I don't know if there's a question in there, but I can address a couple of those items from our end. Yes, so there is an ebb and a flow with new folks coming in, and this is across all sports. It's something that we got to deal with as far as coaching hires go. We don't have any control over that, but we're trying to make this as simple as possible for them. When it comes to our rankings, these are official rankings. These are official FHSAA rankings. So when the parent or college looks at it that way, that would be appropriate. Next one, once the player scores are entered, saved on the cloud, and the event is closed, are those results automatically reported? And I think you might be meaning when our requirement for reporting results for the FHSAA rule, that would be yes. Once those are entered and it's closed, that would be considered a reported score. Okay.
So when they finish it and they touch on, in that presentation, I showed how you can touch to a test.
Mm-hmm.
And if they touch on a test and they actually do attest their scorecard, this gets locked right here. And the only way to get that unlocked is to go see an event manager. In this case, there's only 3 people that can do that. They can unlock that, or they can make a change here. So it's important to understand the security involved with the way this system is designed.
Perfect. That's perfect, and that's what we do with a couple of our other sports as well. Is the tournament manager or meet manager is the one responsible for those kinds of things. Michael Marinelli asked, we have run into an issue with several schools who say that they're not playing at teams outside their county this season. What is their plan when the state series begins? Now that's, Mike, I can't give a solid answer on that because frankly, we don't know what every county is doing. They haven't made those plans yet, but I can tell you that what we've heard from a number of counties, so I'll throw Brevard out there as an example. What I've heard from Brevard is that during the regular season, they're not allowed to play outside the county, but for state series, they are. I've heard this from Leon, and I've heard this from a couple of others. The plan is that when you get to state series, that would be the district tournament. That's the first round. They're going to go wherever they need to go. I can tell you that we would probably expect there may be situations where schools may not be able to get out there, and that would be a district policy or a school administration policy that's been adopted related to what we're experiencing now. We wouldn't overrule anything to that effect. So that would be our position. Paul asks, if a school does not have a separate girls golf team but has a female player, how do you select her to play and score via Wanamaker? When setting up an event, selection of boys or girls must be made. If it's a boys varsity golf match, a team's roster only includes the boys on their team and does not allow adding a girl to pairings. This is a great question, one that does happen often. How would we go about doing that, Doyle?
Okay, so yeah, and I showed that. I'll show it again. So you edit the event. So this was set up as a boys event, let's say, like he said. So we got a boys event. We have to bring a girl into this event. The way you do that, first of all, this event was set up with boys, and let's say that I had picked 5 different teams. All the teams on this step here will all be boys teams, okay? Because I chose boys in the beginning, and I selected, let's say, 5 teams, whatever. If I want to add a girl, I go to the people golfers step, and now I'm adding a player, right? I'm adding a female. I click on add from leagues. You see how it defaults to boys because this is a boys event. I'm going to do the drop down and pick girls. I can do my filters, on whatever I want to do here. And I can continue to filter it down to whatever I want to do. Now I find a girls team with, oh, good, I got one here. So I can click on who's coming, click multiple if I want, and I just click import. And what that just did is that added the team as well as that female player to the event. One other thing you want to be cognizant of is that this is a female in this event, right? And so on the round step, make sure you pick the female tee that she played from, right? Because you're going to have boys and girls both playing, right? And so if I want to add her to a pairing here, let's say she's probably gonna play by herself, but I'll just go ahead and put her on here because it doesn't really matter if I have a couple in here or not. I can actually say, hey, we want to get another, and that's good. I'll show you how to put Trevor with her, make sure she's not playing by herself. You just take them out and you put them in. Okay. And now one thing I got to do now is I got to make sure that we put her on the right tee. And if she's playing from the white female, I do that. And there you go. Now it's ready for that girl to jump in and know what pairing she's with and score. And most importantly, when the round is closed, that her ranking will be accurate because I selected the right tee box.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. That was a very good question. It's a lot of our smaller schools end up in this situation quite often, and our rules, our bylaws permit girls to play on boys' teams in the regular season. When we get to the state series, girls have to play on the girls' side and boys on the boys' side. Okay. Next one was rankings appear incomplete with many top teams only recording one match. Are we to assume these teams have opted out? If they have not, by what date do they have to have all their matches or tournaments recorded? So the rule is that they need to be, that any match or tournament that happens has to be done within 24 hours. We'll work with folks who want to put stuff in on the back end, and that's perfectly fine at this point. What I would say is that I would not assume that teams have opted out. That announcement's actually going to be coming out tomorrow on our email blast. But what I can say is that 1A and 2A are mostly not affected. There is a little bit of a player shortage, but you'll see the most change there in 3A, in the southern part of the state in particular. But I would reach out directly to those schools. The due date was the 18th. Reach out to those schools that you're maybe concerned about if you're playing them, for instance, and find out. It may just be a situation where they haven't put in their results, which.
Or they haven't closed the round, right? Correct.
Yeah. Or they haven't closed the round. If they don't close the round, it doesn't get recorded appropriately to go into the rankings and the standings. Okay. The next one, on the 9th, the kids did not have the app. Can I, should have put the scores in manually now? Yes, if you have those hole-by-hole scores and the scorecards available, go ahead and do that. And maybe I'll go through that with the kids that you have and do that together. You can definitely do that. David Duran says, if I never see the add from leagues tab, what am I doing wrong?
Add from leagues. On what step?
I do not know, but it may be.
Well, it's only two places. It's only in the, and that's always there. Well, I guess, maybe, okay, so here's where it would show up. If you actually created an event outside of the FHSAA, this is generic Wanamaker stuff here. So if you created an event out here, maybe it's this one, right? I can go to this one. And there is no league associated with this, right? It's not a part of a league. So if you don't see it, that meant that you created your event outside of the FHSAA league. So make sure that you go to leagues and you choose the Florida High School Activities Association, go to your school before you create your event. And you got to be a coach in order to do that.
So those are two things. You need to make sure that you are under your coach account and that you're under your specific team.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next one says, under my events section, the dates and events are typically out of order. Is there any way to keep them in order by date? So I assume probably ascending or descending. I can still see events from last year as well. Can we archive old years?
This is the archive, and it's sorted descending. So if you don't want it, I mean, you can always see, you stop at 2019. These are all the ones in 2020, and I get down to the point where I see 2019. You put a request in, we could add a filter here to say, only show me this year, right, this season. We could add that filter. It's not there right now, but consider this the archive, right? Because when you're done an event, it's in the archive, it's in the past, and you got today. This is the filtering options right now. That is something that I have on the list. It's a request, and we will consider that going forward. But know this, is that we'll never remove an event. We're not going to archive an event. This is just this system is a database. Stuff is always available, right? The events as well as the rankings will be available, and in 20 years, you'll be able to go back in 20 years and look at what happened.
So really, it's just a matter of adding a filter.
That's right, exactly.
Okay. Next one, James Freem says, I have players who don't have a device. How will they score in the state series? I've gotten this one a number of times, and what we would say is the device would be the phone. The phone in this case would be viewed by the association as another piece of equipment, like a glove, balls, tees, something to that effect. I would work directly with the parents if they have parental restrictions on use of a phone. We understand that. Work with the parent to perhaps gain access to using a phone for the event only. We're doing this in particular. This was at the end of last year, is sort of aspirational. COVID has really forced us to move our timetable up on this kind of change and minimize contact. For us, it's non-negotiable in the state series because it's what the association has control over, and we're doing our best to mitigate risk in contact with other folks. Again, it may be one of the answers that some folks don't like, but it is an honest answer. David Hudson asks, it would help us much better if the need a ruling function sent text messages to managers instead of an email. I guess that's a suggestion. That would make sense.
Yes, and so to that, Ed, what we're doing, it's a project that we're going to start on the 1st of October, where another request that we received from golfers is the ability to sign in, and many of us do this on apps, where you can use the text messaging feature to sign in, right? So that's going to be added. So we're going to add the ability to text message in a future release. Once that's added, you'll start to see that show up in more and more of the ways that you communicate with people. And that there's a lot that go with that, right? Being able to say, I only want emails. I want text and emails. There's that's a very it's a feature that I've wanted to have for years, as well as other coaches, right? It's just very expensive to add things like that to a system this complicated.
All right, Brent Mosier asks, why do my kids not see the wording to attest scores? I'm guessing that's on their app.
The only reason you wouldn't see that is if you did not turn on this right here, where you got to have golfers only. And then, yes, if you do this and this, then you will see touch to attest. But you got to have this on in order to be able to, because you have to have a marker for you in order for you to be able to then sign your scorecard, right? It's just built that way. It's built following the exact rules of golf. Rule 3.3b, score after every hole. Who logs the scores? A marker. What do you do at the end of the round? You attest your scorecard, you sign it. So that's why you got to just make sure this row, this column here is all checked. And if it is, you'll see the button.
Okay. All right. Christopher Pote asks, we have maroon versus white matches. Can we run these through the system? So that would be an inter-squad, Doyle.
Okay. Like a practice? Yeah, you can do that.
I can tell you this year that we are, given the circumstances, that we're allowing similar things to go into our official results.
So I just talked to, let's just take a look at this event. I talked to, the other day they played a boys versus girls. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So they put the boys and the girls, and they had a good competition. And look at there, the boys got them by 1. So it was really cool. Carl called me at the last minute, hey, can we do this? And I said, sure you can. And we threw the boys and the girls in the same event. P paired them up, 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 boys, and they battled it out, and it was a 1-stroke difference.
So basically, you would create the event, and then you either a boys or a girls event. You'd bring in the boys
Yeah.
team, you bring in the girls team, and you could do the same thing with inter squad if you have a big boys team, for example. You just bring in that, you create the pairings, and that's your event, right?
That's correct. And so you saw that he had all those checked, right? And now if I get the results on this, I don't know if his whole, if I'm gonna look at all pairings here, if they all, oh boy, they all signed. Oh, so signed, all signed. Oh, right here, Isabella. You know, he called me about her. She had the wrong email address, so she didn't get to sign hers. But you can see the locks. This means that they signed their scorecards. So Carl's working this out in practice, right? And Carl's not gonna stop until he makes sure they can all sign. It's his job as a coach, right? Making sure everyone can score and everyone can attest. This was last week. I'm sure today's event was perfect. I'm sure he has everyone attesting.
Okay. Next one, again from Chris. Can we add other outside players and coaches and score them? You'd use the same method. You'd bring them on the players, add from leagues, correct?
Yeah. What do you mean by outside? You mean like a parent? Is that what they're asking, Ed? You can't do that. I mean, it's got to be a golfer.
Yeah. Well, and that would be against the rules anyway.
That's right. Exactly.
You can't play with on an official basis. Have a contest with kids who are not in high school or with parents. You can do that on your own, similar to what you might do with a powder puff game or something to that effect. But that wouldn't be recorded on our end.
So can you bring others? I guess I got to have a little more clarification on the question, but you know, golfers, you can bring any golfer into a high school golf event, and that golfer then can be a part of that tournament.
Correct. However, when it comes to official events, that would not be allowed.
Right. It's got to be from the team.
We do have a policy against that. So just please be mindful of that.
Yeah. So it's got to be a golfer, right? The key is it has to be a golfer from a team in the tournament.
An eligible high school athlete.
There you go. Yeah.
Next one's from Paul. If a score is attested and then a determination is made that the score entered on a hole is incorrect, lower than actually made on a hole, how is the player DQ'd? This is a good one. How would you go back and show?
Well, technically, I can show you how that would be done, but policy-wise, I guess I would put that back on the tournament official. The first thing that should have been said is that first of all, it should have been settled on the hole. It should not have waited till the end of the round. That's just scorecard etiquette. You follow Rule 33B and you record your scores hole by hole. And if you do have a discrepancy, call an official, settle it, and record it, and be done with that hole. You shouldn't be squabbling about hole number 3 score when the round is done. So
I agree, Doyle. This will happen. It probably does happen. I know I've seen it happen at the state tournament. How would you go about disqualifying somebody who signed in?
Then you would just go to edit results, and you would pick the team, and you would change the eligibility right here, and save it.
Okay.
And that will take that player's score out of the team score, and the team will be adjusted as soon as I save that. Okay. I can also change a score here too, right? You can override a score. That's why it's called edit results. This is the override screen, override page, if you will. And this save means you got to, when you make changes to this row, you save it. And then here's the eligibility piece right here.
Okay, thank you. Next one, if a girl is playing on the boys team, I thought they had to play from the boys tees. From our perspective, and I'll give the FHSAA perspective, the terms of competition, especially when you're talking about a 9-hole match after school, we would leave that up to the coaches to make that determination. You have you guys have broad authority on the type of play that you guys will engage in, match play, anything modified, whatever you guys want to do. But in that case, you can have the young lady play on a different tee, and her ranking or what she did would be reflective of that. Was there anything different, Doyle, that you would add?
No, well, and now to that, and what I just showed earlier is how you can add girls to boys events, boys to girls events. So you have that flexibility now. As far as, girls counting towards a boy's score, yeah, it's allowed. Do it during the season. Your IWR might not be as accurate. That's something that I'm sure is going to evolve as we move down this road, right? But the system is flexible enough to be able to then pull that girl into a district girls tournament, even though she was on the boys team.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay, next one. We have sixth graders on the team who don't have phones. Best way to handle. Again, my answer would be to simply view the phone or device as a piece of equipment. I would work directly with those parents, let them know what the expectations are, what the circumstances are, the terms of competition, and work with them to make that happen. We understand that parents do have those concerns for their young ladies and young boys, but for the competition itself, we are going to have to insist that each kid is able to do that. Okay. Next one from Pam Elders. During our match, the players did not see where they were to attest their scores, nor did the coaches. What did they do wrong? I think this goes back to the screen where you mentioned players only.
Yep, that's right here. Tell them to touch. What they need to do is touch on their name, and goes right here. Again, we didn't want to reinvent the wheel here. You always sign your scorecard on your scorecard. So if you can get to your scorecard and this is your scorecard and it's all set up, you will have the ability to assign it. Like I said, we wanted to make it much like the way kids have learned how to play golf, and you've always been taught to sign your scorecard.
Okay. Next one is from Cynthia. My rankings shows 2 unidentified. How can we fix this?
Okay, that's a good question. And the reason it happened, and you have just email support, first of all. One of the things that you do not want to do, okay, highly advised not to, and I just put some messaging up. I'm just going to go to general rosters here. And this is what caused it. There was 2 players, for whatever reason. Maybe the kid spelled his name one way and the coach spelled it another way. And now you got, let's just imagine that these Ethans are the same person. And the coach said, oh, can't have 2 Ethans, clicks here and clicks here without reading this. This got added, and you can see why you do not want to delete a roster member without contacting support, because we can do it in a way that will not give you that unidentified. The good news is we can fix it, because this does not delete scores. This just basically disconnects this roster entry with this person's scores. Okay, so contact us and let us know the situation, and we will fix it. This message was just put up, and so I'm sure they didn't know, right? It's just an honest mistake, and they didn't know what happened. Well, now you know right here that it could affect your individuals as well as a team. So I highly recommend that you don't delete, right, unless you really know that that person has not been in an event. That's the first thing you ask. Has this player been in an event? And many times what you'll see is a player with the same exact name, one without the swoosh and one with the swoosh. So if you had pulled this kid, let's say they're both the same. If I pulled this kid into an event, this player, and that player scored a round, and then all of a sudden you came back and registered with another account, well, we got to resolve those 2. We got to merge them, in other words, right? And we can do that, right? We can fix this. So don't worry, it's very easily fixable. It's just that be careful when you're managing your roster and deleting players off the roster.
Very good. Next one, we've had issues modifying pairings at the last minute as some players did not show up. Can we do that in rounds?
Yes, you can. And a lot of coaches are starting to, until we can add the features of being able to fully manage an event on the app, you can bring up Google Chrome on your phone, log into iWanamaker.com, and make last minute changes. That's what we recommend right now today. I don't, it depends on how good you are with it and navigating the interface. You might become really good at it and you can do the whole thing on your phone on the way to the event. That's completely up to you. I wouldn't do it that way. Everyone has their own personal preferences on how to manage the event. I think it'd be nice to let the golfers know who they're playing with and what time they're teeing off the day before or hours before. But you can manage and make last minute changes that way today.
Okay. Next one is from Ed Snyder. How are you establishing who is the marker and attesting? I have not seen that on the app. So how would you establish a marker?
It's random, just like the rule book says. Golfers exchange your scorecards. You don't identify, you give that one to this one. We didn't do, we follow the rule book, and that's what they do. They randomly exchange scorecards, and that's what we do. It's random.
Okay. Excellent. And next one is again from Ed. Why are some of my golfers having to request to be a scorer and others are not? If you don't have access to your email, you wouldn't be able to approve.
That is only happening if you're not following, this event when it was created, by default, this is set like that. By default, someone is turning it off. And the only reason you're getting those emails is because someone has turned this off in your event. And that goes against what Ed talked about earlier is you shouldn't be turning this off, right? This should always be golfers only, always, okay? The minute you turn this on, you're allowing spectators to get involved with the golfers, which goes against policy. So make sure that this is not turned on. And Ed, if you want me to, I can grade this out so they can't switch this over. We can talk about that later. But because of the whole COVID thing, this is loose. This is really loose. Okay, anyone can do anything. Yeah. As you go through here, tighten it up, tighten it up.
I can assure you in state series competition, it will be golfers only. Okay. I got one in the chat window here. Last one from Ed. Okay, I haven't been seeing the marker because we have been checking the coaches, managers, and golfers. Okay, so that's exactly what you kind of mentioned there. All right. Q&A. That's Q&A. Chat window. Oh boy. Dave. Will this recording be available later? Yes, we will place it on home campus, available for you guys, or at least a link to it. Probably be on the FHSAA YouTube channel. Here's some good stuff here from Ryan Adams. How are we playing bunkers with no rakes? So I had a good conversation, and this will be part of the discussion that we have with our district and region hosts. Most courses have pulled all of the rakes, and we're going to adopt what they're doing at Mission Inn, and we'll do that throughout the series, is that you're just basically, you're going to play it, and you're going to waft over the divot or the mark in the bunker with your foot. That's how we're going to play it. I mean, it'll be simple. It'll be, my understanding is that at most courses, the bunkers will be raked to start, but you go from there. I hope that provides a little bit of help on that.
No, Ed. So
yeah.
We're playing as it lies.
Correct.
Is what you're saying. There's no relief or anything like that.
At this point, and I haven't fleshed all of that out with FSGA.
Okay.
I'm working on that. But yes, that's a great question because that has come up. I think you asked that if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, it varies from event to event. I mean, we've seen play it down. We've seen you get a scorecard relief, and we've seen stroke relief from various tours and throughout this whole summer and pandemic and all that. So,
yeah, and we're going to try and make that consistent, at least in the series, whatever route we go. Next one. Doyle, girls could score. This is from Linda Sibio. She says, girls could score but couldn't attest. Wording wasn't there. What did I forget to do?
I just showed that, right? So when you go in to the edit event, you got to make sure that it's golfers only and yes here. If you've got that checked, they're going to be able to attest.
Okay. I think they weren't seeing the attest screen or the test. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll see that on the scorecard. If this event, if a golfer signed in, if I save this, a golfer signed in here, and if it's a golfer that is in this list with a valid email. So if Braxton logs in with Alan Worley, then they would be able to do that. See, this is probably a case right here that this might not work out so good, unless if Braxton's middle name is Alan, could be.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so if they sign in with this here, they will be able to attest.
Okay. All right. So it's probably in the setup process.
Yep. Make sure you turn on Scorecard Exchange.
Okay. And then there was one last one, and we'll wrap it up at this one. I think it's David Hudson commenting on the bunker issue. Hope it changes. Earlier player making footprints, even intentional, could be problematic. That's a good point. So we'll work through that. We'll have the information out before anyone tees off at at a district tournament. Hopefully get that out even well before that. What the FHSAA approach will be on that. I don't see any other questions. Rob, Doyle, do you guys have anything you want to add at the end to wrap up?
Yes. Go ahead, Rob.
I just want to say it might seem overwhelming as you start utilizing this program, but it is so beneficial. And like I know I'm different, obviously, and I love golf. I love trying to help out our state, but I mean, I can set up an event in 5 minutes now, and I can promise you I'm no technology guru, as I couldn't even get on the call on time. So it is great, guys. You just have to play with it and get comfortable with it. It's really beneficial. There's so much. So it's so funny is I had not looked at any of the stats until you started talking about it today with the birdies, and that's really cool. It's just another neat tool. People love data, and I can tell you right now, I mean, I looked at for a couple of my guys, and I'm like, I'm going to use that with college coaches and be like, hey, just so you know, you guys love scoring. He's 5th in the state in birdies made this year. So it really is a great program. And so I encourage the participants who are on this, you're on it because you're trying to learn. So kudos to you. There's great features. Just stick with it and trust it and play around. You might make mistakes. We'll get it figured out. We can help. And I can pat Doyle on the back virtually because he and his team, they're so willing to help. That support, I think somebody maybe even commented on it. I mean, if you send a support, they respond. They want this to work, guys. And they're doing everything they can to help you out. So give them the benefit, watch the videos, and try things on your own.
Well, Rob's frozen.
Rob is froze. He'll come back.
Appreciate it.
Oh, there he is.
So.
Okay. So the only thing I wanted to say, Ed, is thank you, Rob. And we do. We pride ourselves in being able to get back to people within minutes. And so to that end, the system, the platform is always going to continue to get better. And again, I really want you to think of this as your app. This is your app. Own it. And like you have, right? You guys, I see this in many different states where the coaches take ownership of the system and the golfers take ownership of the app because it is their app, it's your app. And I'll tell you, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they, in the states that have this, they get to experience golf like only other states can dream of, right? Because the sport of golf has never been out there at the fingertips, at the hands of people who watch this. And there's nothing more heartwarming than to get a call from a grandma, an 80-year-old person who and her husband just can't wait for their son or their grandson or granddaughter scores to start showing up on a leaderboard. That's why we do this. We do this so it makes everything work better together. Rob talked about stuff that he loves from a coaching perspective. But don't forget that there's thousands of eyes out there watching and waiting for their loved ones' scores to show up, so they can follow them. And they like I said, that's all season long. They can't wait for that to happen. And the hardest phone calls I take are from a parent or a grandparent or a grandmother who like, oh my gosh, why are there no scores for Tommy? And I said, you got to talk to the coach about that, right? Because I can't be at every event. I can't put scores in. You guys know that. So we have to work together. We have to work hand in hand to make sure that everyone has a great experience. And you guys have done a superb job. And I get the learning curve. And if you are stuck, reach out to us. We'll help you get there.
I'll say just one more thing too. I had talked about being able to give information to colleges. I can tell you there is one of, if not the best golf program in the state, college golf program in the state of Florida, that is a huge advocate and has membership and is watching constantly. And he tells me that on a regular basis. And I know there's multiple college coaches who, like right now, they're trying to get all the information they can because they can't get out and watch the athletes. So they're just using this as a tool to be able to see their players and other avenues, and so that is another positive for the app.
So, and one more thing that we should probably mention. I'm going to have to right here it is. Okay. So to save you time, because, you used to have to report everything, right, to the media. So when a media member asks to have access, we give them free access. All we ask is that they promote the FHSAA Golf App to their followers. So when you have a media person, if it was me coaching, I'd say, let me get you hooked up. Let me get you set up here so you can write about all the great things that are going on with high school golf in the state of Florida. And you don't have to report scores to them anymore. In fact, literally the reporters are watching live. They're waiting for these scores to be entered live, much like a college coach is evaluating his kids, live scoring. So as long as that all is happening live, you close that round, you go home, and no reporting to the media. They already have all the information. They got way more than they ever had before, right? Because they have all these details. They have access to these right here. They can write about the rankings. They can write about the event and how it all unfolded just by following it on the smartphone, on the app, or on the web.
Absolutely. To that point, we have a lot of constituents, different folks that are interested in seeing how the students are performing. We've got the parents, we've got the grandparents, we've got the college coaches, we've got the folks back at school. I can assure you that during the state tournament, there are many of the schools participating, the principal, the AD. They have screens in the front office or in their offices or in classrooms or wherever, where they're projecting the scoreboard as it happens. They're very interested in seeing how the kids are doing, and they want to be able to be a part of that. So think about it from that perspective a little bit. There are some changes that change is not always easy, but this is something that from our perspective, and from those who have gotten into it, Rob can attest that this is positive. It's good for the sport, and we're trying to grow the game. We're trying to enhance the opportunities for kids in our schools to play and be seen and really enjoy their high school experience. It's all about that. Rob, thank you. Thank you for being a good partner. Let me plug this FACA item to all the folks that are still on. Guys, get involved, get with Rob, be a part of the professional development of the sport in the state. We need it. You guys are there. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there that can share ideas and additionally help move the sport forward. We work hand in hand with you guys, and we look forward to doing more of that. So become a member, go to the clinic. If you go, I'll see you there. Always happy to chat. Doyle, thank you for being on here tonight. Again, if you guys have any questions for Doyle, reach out to him. I mean, you can reach out to me. I'll pass you on to Doyle if there are technical issues or questions in particular about getting things done. But we're here to assist. I have an open door policy, if you will. Email me, call me. I'll talk to you. We'll work through it, and we will worry about things that we can do and not worry about things that we cannot do. So we take that perspective. Again, thank you guys very much for joining us. If you're watching this recording, thank you. Keep this as a resource. Spread the word. Direct folks who are unfamiliar with it at this point to this and to the other tutorials, and so we can move forward. Again, thank you guys, and have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it.